Shabbat Shalom. It's our pleasure to be with you at Manna from Heaven Ministries. My name is David Matthews, and we're going to take a purposeful walk tonight through the Torah portion. The portion this week, I believe, deals specifically with where we are at in the calendar of the universe. It also deals with where we're heading. I believe with all my heart that we're seeing a shadow picture, as we have in all the others. Not that this one has anything more or less than some of the other Torah portions. It just happens that Yahweh reveals things to you incrementally, and He will begin to build on it, giving you some understanding regarding this blueprint of life. And this blueprint, the more that I look at it, it's like the shadow places, things that I had scratched my head in consternation. I like the way Daniel said it. He said his cogitations had made him sick. You know, I believe Daniel probably was from South Mississippi. Amen. Because sometimes I get to looking at this and my cogitations just overwhelm me. But I believe He's revealing this thing more and more so that we'll have a light for our pathway. The Word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And with this Word, you and I can walk in the coming days and not stumble and not bash our foot against a rock if we will stay immersed in the light of His Word. Amen. Having said that, this Torah portion is called Vayetze. It's taken from Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 through chapter 32, verse 3. And we won't even begin to scratch the surface on this Torah portion. And I would just suggest that you go back and take what you hear tonight and build along with what Yahweh's sharing with you an even more enhanced picture of what this Torah portion is sharing with you. But what it deals with tonight is where Jacob, having used subterfuge or cunning or whatever you want to say, he has taken the birthright from his brother Esau. There was a very serious rift that took place afterward, and now you find Jacob about to leave his family. And the traditional way of looking at that from a Christian perspective has been that Jacob had to get out of town because his brother was on him. His brother was, he was actually running in fear from his brother. But I choose to believe what I find hidden in the Torah. Some of it you can see without any doubt very clearly. Some of it is innuendo, and the Torah is ripe with that. There's innuendo and suggested things, just like human body language. I can read some things that you're sharing with me sometimes without you ever speaking a word. But people want to look at the Torah and say, my goodness, it didn't say that. Well, it does say that. You just need to learn the Torah. You need to become familiar enough with who the Word is. The Word is embodied in the manifest presence of Yahweh. And I'm just now beginning to learn His body language. Praise Yah. And I'm beginning to see some of the suggestive things in the Word that gives me a little bit more access to the mystery, a little bit more of an understanding of what's being revealed to me in the days that's ahead. But I firmly believe Jacob, having spent, according to the rabbis, they even acknowledge it, he'd spent the previous 14 years studying in a shul, a Torah school with Shem and Eber. And if that's the case, here's a man that knew the Torah forward and backward and in between. He knew the Word. He knew the Torah. He knew what had been written, and it had been reconfirmed to his father, his grandfather Abraham, and to his father Isaac. And here he is. He's running from Esau? I don't think so. I believe what's happening is that you're about to see in this Torah portion the life of Yeshua rehearsed in this action that Jacob takes upon leaving Beersheba. And we're going to look at that in a few minutes. But I have found as I begin to look at the Torah portion, the way that it's normally divided, you have to be careful because even though I believe it's inspired, I do believe that by times to just jump off in something without knowing what's around you is dangerous and may keep you from properly understanding. So I like to get a running start, so to speak, and back up and look at what's around that verse that starts off. Like we're looking here at chapter 28 of Genesis, verse 10. Well, to get a proper understanding, I want to put it in its context. And so to understand what's happening to Jacob, I also now look and see that this verse 10, is tagged to verse 9. Genesis chapter 28, verse 9. I want you to look at that with me. It says, then when Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had. Now pay attention here, because I misread this even myself when I was studying it. It said he took unto the wives which he had. Now you got to go back now and find out about the other 2 wives he just taken earlier in chapter 26. But he takes an additional wife here, and this wife's name is Mahalath, and he takes her from the household of Ishmael, and she was the daughter of she was the sister, if you will, of Nabahoth. And as you begin to look at that, you say, well, this leads into verse 10. It says, after that, and Jacob. Well, there's a conjunction in the King James English, and you can actually see it in the Hebrew. That conjunction links those 2 verses together. Something about Jacob's leaving is connected to Esau taking these wives. When I saw that, I said, man, now I've got to go back before I can properly understand why Jacob is leaving. I have to go back now and examine this particular instance of the wife taking. And since we know that there were previous wives, I'll also have to go back and examine those. And once we do that, it sort of lays out a foundation, if you will. It's sort of like making a dish, a main dish. Sometimes you have the core ingredient that you got to get. You got to fix it and get it just right, like making gravy. If you don't get the roux, the gravy becomes lumpy. It can get burned. So what you have to understand is that you got to build a proper foundation. You got to get something to start with here, okay? Let's look at that verse 9. It says again, Esau went unto Ishmael, and he took unto the wives which he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, or you'd have to look at the way that's written in the Hebrew. Oath is really the suffix on the end of it, okay? I want to break that down for you. Mahalath, Strong's number 4258, is translated in the Strong's Concordance, and I love the Strong's, and let me just share this with you. I'm not trying to bash it too much, but the Strong's Concordance, albeit it's one of the best tools that you may have in your arsenal, it is limited. Strong's translates this name as a stringed instrument. But to properly understand it, as I've shared with you a number of occasions, you need to go back and look at the root stem, the trunk of it. If you cut the branch off, you may not really be able to understand what type of tree it is. If you want to understand the tree, go to the root stock, okay? The trunk of it. Well, the root of this is the word halal. Halal means to profane something. But it has a mem prefix to it. That mem, halal, means from or out of a profanation or a profaning. Are you with me? And then it mentions that he went to Ishmael. And of course, Ishmael, you're very familiar with this name, Strong's number 3458. It's translated as Ishmael, my God will hear. And in this instance, as we were talking about earlier, just because it has the L attached on the end of it does not mean specifically Yahweh. That was a generic title that was used to refer to gods from everything from Molech to Yahweh. So pay attention how it's used and how it's associated with its other Hebrew root stem, okay? And now you have the word Abraham. You're familiar with Abraham. Strong's number 85, meaning the father of nations. And finally you have she was the sister of this particular lady here, Nebaioth. Actually, when you begin to look at this again, the Strong's does it an injustice. The Strong's has it, Strong's number 5032, as heights or high places. But if you will break it in half, you'll look that it's actually from the root of Strong's number 5030, and that is Navi. And the word Navi is a word we get from prophet or for profit. So this lady was evidently connected to prophecy. She was evidently a prophetess. And if you look on the end of it, the suffix Navaot, tells you that something regarding an oath and prophesying is seen in this name. Now, this gives you what I referred to as an expanded definition. And the reason I'm going to give you this is so that you can understand what's happening between Jacob and Esau. Jacob's leaving. He's not leaving out of abject fear. Jacob is obeying the word that he received at Beersheba, the well of oaths. The word well biri, my well, literally means that it is a womb or a repository. It's a place where you withdraw knowledge and wisdom or living waters. He's at the place where the repository of the oath is. Wow. This was where he had been sitting and hearing and feeding and drinking from the covenant of Yahweh. And this guy, a Torah scholar, he wasn't your average Bible thumper. He was a Torah scholar. Now he's leaving? I don't think so. Let me give you this expanded definition. The word Machalath, Ishmael, Abraham, and Nebaioth can mean this. And this is Esau speaking. His actions define him. Out of my profaning, I will hear God, El. And I will father many nations with an oath to the prophet. What prophet? This is Esau speaking. We know that the progeny of Esau today have given themselves wholly to an oath sworn to the one who is called their prophet, Muhammad. Are you hearing me? Wow. Let's look a little bit further. Since this is Esau's third wife, then the names of his first two are also helpful for us to be able to determine what caused the hatred and jealousy between those two brothers. They're brothers, are you hearing me? But there is such a chasm between the two that it's going to be difficult at best to even put a bridge across. I do believe that Yahweh is reaching into both houses, and he's going to bring some out of both houses. But the vast majority of Esau, according to Obadiah 1:18, will not bow their knee to Yahweh. They will give themselves wholly to the continued fomenting of this rebellion that you see in Esau. Now, let's look at it a little further. Genesis chapter 26, verse 34 reveals his first two wives. It says, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri, there's that word, my well, the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite. Now again, if you're doing any kind of study, don't overlook these names. These names themselves embody a prophetic declaration made over these individuals that will lend understanding to you. Judith, Strong's number 3067, it is the feminine of the word Judah. It's a plural feminine form of the word Judah or Yehuda. And Yehuda means praise. Yehudu, I will praise. But if you notice, there's a suffix on the end of it again, and it is the suffix that gives it the ending ot or sign or monument. So it has something to do with this individual who's connected to an oath or praising an oath. And if you look at it, it says, well, my goodness, she must have been a Christian or a believer. Now let's look at the word biri, Strong's number 882. Again, it means my well. The word well meaning a repository, a source of understanding, a source of knowledge. And then finally you have the word Hittite. Hittite is seen twice, and it is Strong's number 2850, Hitti, and it means terror, destruction, and devastation. And I have the other wife's name, Bashemath, and of course her name is translated as fragrant, Strong's number 1350, but again, it's not treated right by the Strong's Concordance. If you look at it, you have the baked affixed to the front of it, meaning in, and then you have Shem and oath. In the name of the oath is what Bashemat should be rendered. And again, you have the word Elon. Strong's number 356. She was the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Elon here is Strong's number 356, the same word that is used to describe the place that Abraham was sitting when he had the angelic visitors approach him. He was sitting in the plains of Mamre under the Elon, the terebinth or long-lived covenant tree. The root of Elon is the word Ayil, which means the ram. And it is referencing Yeshua as a Messiah. And again, not to be redundant, but it's here specifically, so we need to include it. You have one more time the word Hittite, Strong's number 2850. The expanded definition. Now this is my understanding of these words. Although it's my understanding, I believe that it's in keeping with what's being shared with us in this Torah portion.